For the first time, British scientists have been permitted to work on human embryos for gene editing purposes. They are led by Dr. Kathy Niken at the Francis Crick Institute in London, England. As of last week, Chinese scientists have genetically modified human embryos in attempts to make them HIV resistant. They have also edited a gene that causes a blood disorder. Both of these teams are using a new gene editing technique called the clustered regularly interspaced palindromic repeats, or for short, the CRISPR/Cas9. This technique involves using strands of RNA from prokaryotic bacteria that fights off invading genetic material. So it's basically the bacteria's immune system. It does this by finding a certain spot on the genome and cutting it out. The Cas9 part refers to the protein that guides the RNA into the specific spot on the genome. This technique is much more precise and much more accurate than the previous one with gene splicing. Now there are going to be some major moral, ethical, and religious issues with people being allowed to edit human genes, especially in a country like Britain. The movie Gattaca is a depiction of this fear. The movie is set in the future in which everything is dependent on a person's DNA, their social status, their career, everything. With this technique, we won't be seeing anything like this anytime soon, but some people speculate that by the end of the century, this technique could lead to designer babies. So parents designing their babies maybe to have purple eyes or super tall or highly intelligent. But I believe that we could use this technique to prevent genetic diseases or disorders such as epilepsy, autism, or Down syndrome. Autism is the disorder that I want to talk about. Autism can be traced back through a family's genetic line, so it is considered a genetic disorder. I will give an example of someone who has autism and the challenges that they face. But first of all, my mom works with children who have autism on a daily basis, and so she experiences these challenges firsthand. For example, she has one student who we'll call Jake, and he's a 4th grader with autism in a special education classroom. He has problems to some degree with social behavior, flexible behavior, communication, and empathy. For example, in one incident, he was doing his assignment and he could not find his aqua colored pencil. And instead of continuing his assignment with a similar color, he became emotionally distraught because he could not find this one pencil. The day would end up with Jake crying and screaming over this pencil and having to use a weighted vest to calm him down. And I'll explain why he uses a vest later. Problems like these may make it hard for Jake to fit into society in his adult life. But what if we could prevent this? What if we could develop this CRISPR technique to actually prevent genetic disorders like autism? This, of course, would take years and years of research to actually pinpoint the right genes that cause autism, because there are multiple, maybe even hundreds of genes that cause autism, and to manipulate the CRISPR to actually edit those genes. I was discussing this topic with my mom, and she said something very interesting, something that I'm still debating over my head at this very moment. Before I talked to her about this, I was all in it for the science side, that yes, we should be able to genetically modify human embryos and to prevent genetic diseases and disorders. But then she said that there are people with autism who have contributed to society. And she gave me an example of a lady named Temple Grandin. So Grandin was a student at the Cal Poly Pomona University, and she was training in the animal science major. So first of all, people who are autistic feel safe when they're compressed, so they will sometimes wear a weighted vest, as did Jacob did when he couldn't find his colored pencil. So as she was training in the animal sciences, she saw how stressed out the cattle were when they were brought into the slaughterhouse. So she devised a system in which the cows would be filed into a single line and they would feel more compressed and safe. You may ask, what's the point of making a cow feel safe right before it's slaughtered? Well, this system was also used when they were transporting the cow. So the cows, because they felt safer and less stressed out, they would have a higher immune system, or better immune system, and they would have a higher breeding rate. With this system, Grandin revolutionized the cattle industry. So then my mom asked me, if Temple Grandin didn't have autism, would she have still made that contribution to the cattle industry? As this new technique rises in popularity, many people are being worried about the religious, moral, and ethical issues involving it. Some see it as a threat to the religion and as playing God, but others see it as a necessary research, like the scientists at the Francis Crick Institute. who said that the decision to allow them to edit human genes was a triumph for common sense. So I leave you with this question. Let's say that you are going to be a future parent, and the doctor tells you that your child will be born with some genetic disease or disorder like autism, and they say that with your permission, that you can change it with this new technique. Would you give him permission to do so?